Okay, welcome to Self-Confidence Month. I'm chatting with Nic Prendregaust. Nic, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll talk about self-confidence?
Yeah, I can indeed. Thank you, Emily. So I'm Nic Prendregaust and I am a counsellor as well as coach. So I work in private practice and I work across a lot of different specialist areas. It could be confidence and self-esteem, it could be grief, it could be bereavement, it could be loss, it could be relationships. That seems to be, if you like, a big one at the moment with lots of clients, as well as confidence and self-esteem, not surprisingly, as a result of us gradually coming out of COVID, but also a niche area that I've introduced as well is around perimenopause.
Awesome.
So we can talk a little bit about that today with
Yeah.
the top tips for boosting self-confidence.
So yeah, self-confidence, a lot of women find that their confidence takes a hit during perimenopause, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you see and how do you help?
I think what I often see is that going through our kind of younger years, we've put that mask on, looking after everybody else, whether it's family, whether it's partners, and got to keep going. And actually, we lose sight of ourselves. We forget about ourselves, and then when we get into those perimenopause years, menopause years, when other things are starting to happen, maybe it's loss, maybe it's trauma, I don't know, kids leaving, going off to, or whatever it might be, elderly parents, then we begin to feel that mask beginning to kind of drop, and we kind of think, what's this about? Where's my confidence gone? What's my sense of identity, now when things are kind of changing and shifting around me? And
Who am I? Who am I suddenly when everybody
Yeah.
else doesn't need me? Yeah.
Absolutely. Who am I here? Who am I now? And and that sort of mask, begins to slip, or we feel that it becomes, I think we become more exposed, don't we? And the mask drops. And as you said, we think, well, what are we all about now? Who do we want to be? What's our identity? I think that's when that confidence, and that I always describe the sort of self-esteem as a more of as an inner thing, whereas the confidence is more about how we're projecting. But it really does take a knock,
Absolutely.
And,
But actually what you just said about kind of having this opportunity to think, who are we, what do we want to be, what an amazing opportunity we have.
Yeah, that's why I always talk about those kind of perimenopause years as, let's look at it as, possibilities and opportunities, rather than, oh gosh, this is something I'm going to have to go through, that I'm going through, that's being done to me. And actually waiting. And who knows how long we're waiting for. We know that perimenopause, but the perimenopause, it can, for some people, last up to 10 years. So what are we waiting for? We need to sort of seize those opportunities. And I think that's when that positive reframing comes in, when we sort of catch ourselves in that sort of negative self-talk, and we're really sort of really knocking ourselves, aren't we? And that's when our confidence takes a dip.
Absolutely. So when you're working with clients, how do you help them to sort of reframe that, to move those negatives back to positives?
Yeah, absolutely. So in work, as you said, in working with clients, we're often looking at, what are those strategies that are going to be right for you to help you to build your confidence. So and there's a number of different strategies. I would suggest it's not right for everybody. The first one, and it gets talked about a lot, is affirmations. So it's about words, of kindness, sort of positive reframing. So rather than I'm not good enough, I don't add any value, it's saying, well, I am good enough. And funnily enough, I stuck it right in front of my nose, because I've actually got that just behind my laptop when I'm working with clients as well, to remind me that I am good enough. And often say to clients is, you can do it any which way. You can jot them down on post-it notes, you can stick them around your laptop, you can stick them around the house, in front of a mirror when you're getting ready in the morning, or you can record them and listen back to them throughout the day, or you can just sort of journal them, jot them down and just come back to them, just to remind yourself every day. And actually in front of me, and I can share them, is I've got a wonderful poster that I share with clients, which has got 42 here possible affirmations, everything from I'm doing my best to I love myself, I'm free of worry and regret. So it's just that positive reframing and sort of, if you like, putting the bully, the self-talk, the negative self-talk, which is the bully, to kind of one side, and putting it in its place. So that's kind of one way, is the affirmations.
I read something the other day. Sorry, this is slightly off on a tangent, but
That's okay. We don't, don't mind.
I read something the other day. And it was just the most lovely. It was just a meme on Facebook, and it said something like, "Try to turn your inner talk to how you talk to your dog." So we all always say to our dogs, "Oh, aren't you beautiful? Aren't you gorgeous? Aren't you lovely? Take you out for a walk. Let's give you the food you need." We do everything that's right for our dogs. Or for any pets, but for ourselves, you think, oh, well, you're fat, well, you're rubbish, well, you're useless. And it's like, hang on a sec, you never say that to your dogs.
Yeah, I always say that with clients, to say, if a friend was talking about themselves or somebody else in a very negative way, what would you say back to them? You wouldn't just sit with it and sort of, as I call it, sort of buy into the drama of it all. You would say, that's just inexcusable to talk. And I always talk about, the inner critic, or the chimp on your shoulder, that's kind of the bully that says, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that, or you're this and you're that. And I always describe it as to say, we need to listen more to that compassionate friend, or that, that inner coach, as I call it, that kindness that says, well, I'm none of those things. I am good at what I do. I am this, I am that, I am caring, just to, not be bullied, and talk back to that, inner critic, and sort of dial it down, and don't give it space to take an opportunity to kind of get into our thoughts and our thinking. And if you like, to wreak havoc.
It does like to.
It does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does like to do that. So,
and a lot of women at this sort of stage of life start feeling, imposter syndrome, and so many really big, far-reaching aspects of low self-confidence, don't they? It's not just a bit of, oh, I don't really like how my clothes feel. It's kind of, oh my goodness, what on earth have I been doing? Why does anybody think I can do this job? Why does anybody think I can be a mother? Why does anybody think? And it's like, whoa. It's okay.
And I think when we take time to tune into that and check in with what we're saying to ourselves, and that language, the can'ts, I shouldn'ts, I won't, it's well, I can, and I will. And what I often find through my client work, and we're all human, is that a lot of those I can't, I shouldn't, it comes from maybe what we've picked up in childhood, what we've been told by family, what we've been told by, our parents, and those beliefs, they get stuck, and we just take them with us. And unless we tune into them and challenge them and say, you know what, these are outdated. They don't, as I often talk to clients, they don't serve me anymore. They're no benefit to me. In fact, they have the reverse impact of making me really quite rubbish, quite crap about myself, and I don't want to be that way. So it's tuning in to that language, and as you said earlier, Emily, reframing it to say, well, no, I'm none of that.
Yeah.
I'm this.
And as you say, because so many of us have had that the mask, or the kind of the role, we've had to do that, and so there hasn't really been the space for the childhood little inner critic and all those things to back. And suddenly, as our hormones change, there's all these little chinks in the armor, isn't there? And all the negative stuff can come back in and go, remember when you were 12 and somebody said stuff and such, still true, right?
Yeah. And I like that. I often refer, again, with clients, that the bully, or that inner critic, wants to find that chink in the in the armor, that just light to say, okay, I'm in here, I can sort of take hold. It's being aware when it can kind of creep in and say, no, you're not gonna have your way. So yeah, it's being aware of what we sit with, but obviously what we picked up from what we've been told and what's been embedded, or what we've been told, but then we've translated it for ourselves into things we can't do, are not capable of, won't do, and who says, and I think sometimes that's where someone as a therapist can really help. When you hear that negative self-talk, you can say, hang on a minute, what's this about? What are you telling yourself? You absolutely can. I was also thinking, I think social media doesn't help that either, you know, thinking about how much time you spend on social media, detoxing from social media, because we then can find our space, as I call it, comparatinitis, where we're just doom scrolling and we're getting involved in other people's lives, what friends are doing, what family are doing, what are siblings doing. And again, what is conveyed on social media isn't necessarily what's going on for those people. People never show up to give that picture of sadness or loneliness, or to convey that the mask has dropped. It's trying to convey how they'd like things to be, which is, I don't know, family life is great, social life is great. So if we can detox and take some time away from that as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a lot to be said for on things like Instagram or Twitter, or, you know, Facebook marginally less so, because you're sort of catching up with friends. And so to an extent you do know what those people are like in real life. But you know, certainly on Instagram, it can be very easy to get caught up in this idea that everybody is picture perfect, and, you know, actually choosing who you follow that fits with the world that you want to see. You know, so whether that's getting rid of the ones who try to make everybody be in a size 6 dress, or whether it's getting rid of the ones who think that everybody should have luxurious hair, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that's your hang up, look to the positives on that, rather than you know, having your feed filled with things that go, oh yeah, everything's awful because all these people on Instagram are perfect.
Yeah, that's why I always say to clients, you know, is this healthy or is this unhealthy? So is this, as you said, is this a healthy connection for me to have, or is it unhealthy for me? You know, in terms of the response it has in me, do I want to be tuning in to the, you know, the size 8, the size 10, you know, pictures, or actually do I check out, and do I choose? That's why a big word that I use a lot is choice. You know, once we notice what's going on around, we can then choose. We can choose differently to say, actually, I'm not going to buy into that anymore, because I'm acknowledging the impact that it has on me, you know, for my confidence, for my self-esteem.
And that choice stretches so much further as well, doesn't it? You can choose who you say yes to about things, who you say no to, who you spend time with, who you, you know, actually taking that back into your power, saying, I have the choice here, is huge.
Yeah. I actually just remembered in my recent blog, the other thing that I talk about in terms of power is power poses, which might sound a little bit odd, but there's a great TED talk that a lady called Amy Cuddy did, but it's also thinking about our body language, you know, and how it makes us, you know, feel, you know, particularly, you know, or the power of Zoom, obviously, and its limitations at times. If you pick up on clients that are really sat there, hunched shoulders, you know, you're kind of almost fetal, then what Amy Cuddy talks about, and I've used this in my past corporate work too, is, you know, take a break from working, you know, if you're working from home or if you're in the office, go to the loo, just draw your shoulders back, you know, do your Beyonce pose or whatever, or Wonder Woman, if you're as old as I am and you remember Wonder Woman, and hands on hips, and, you know, just change your body language, and it just helps.
It does.
Enormously, because that sort of, that defensive, it just makes such a difference to how we feel. So it's, yeah, how are we showing up in our body language?
Absolutely.
Well.
I hadn't even thought about the sort of the body language, but it's so true. And it's one of those that can come under the category of fake it until you make it, because actually body language, you can make yourself stand tall, you can make yourself look people in the eye. You might not want to, and you might not feel confident enough to, but actually you can make. That's one of the ones that almost feels, sometimes for some people when they're feeling really low, you know, the prospect of doing the affirmations or trying to turn things into a positive can feel too big. But actually just going, okay, 3 times a day I'm going to put my shoulders back and I'm going to sit up tall.
And you know, maybe, and just do some mindful breathing with that as well, just, you know, do some sort of deep breathing, you know, with it, and that can be just a small pocket of self-care time as I call it, because that's what I describe therapy as, you know, self-care as well, just to press pause for yourself and say, okay, what strategies, what self-confidence strategies can I use,
Yeah.
to be kind to myself and give myself a break.
Yeah.
Which is what we need to do as women with perimenopause, menopause. You know, we owe that to ourselves to be kind and compassionate.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Nic.
Okay, thank you.